I'm so nosy, Shibo. I probably not. But yeah, we saw today. That stinks. Oh, I mean, it's awesome. But also, I would really like to get it.
That's fine. Well, there's other opportunities.
Well, please keep me in mind. I was flattered.
Sounds good.
We're jam-packed.
Yeah.
Well, there was a wreck almost every there today.
Except the one I was on until you got to the 440.
It just said still.
Huh?
The 440. I think only people from California said that. You get on the 65 and then you get on the 440.
Yeah. In California.
We
get on the 5 to the 40, to the 405.
Well, we don't do that here.
What do we say?
I'm on 440. I'm on 440.
What did I say?
The 440.
Oh, the.
You get on the 440.
Oh, you don't say the, or you just don't say.
They say the in LA. You're going to get on the 5
right,
and then you transition over to the 2 and then you
no, there's no 2.
There's no, okay, well, I've been
to the 101.
Yeah, well, whatever.
But
to the 5.
What do you say when you're on
440?
I'm getting on 65.
Yeah. It's not the.
Yeah.
Except for the Nolensville Road. And that is the Nolensville Road.
No, I don't do that. I say Nolensville Road, but I don't say it if I'm on it. I don't say I'm on the, but if, yeah, I guess I do.
That,
okay, well.
what's the broker code?
Whatever.
VRS 01.
All right, it is time. I guess we're videoed. Maybe all those people in TV land are sitting in their chairs waiting for us. Right, Sam?
That's right. I'm about to send out an email to remind everybody.
How are you, Sam?
I'm excellent. How are you, Bob?
I'm good. I haven't seen you or talked to you for, I don't know, some
Since
time.
yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
24 hours.
Now you have to have a cup, David.
Okay.
A Black Village cup.
All right.
You have to be in uniform. Congratulations. Are you so happy?
Yeah, it's weird though, because there's no move, there's no exchange of keys, so I didn't have.
Oh, you guys are renting?
Yeah, so there was no like, yeah, which I'm like, and I love moving.
I weirdly do too.
Yeah, I'm a military man, so it's like.
I'm not. I'm just like, my mom watched her then. My dad was funny. But my mom was just single for the one. And I love it.
So, yeah.
So exciting.
I know. What if I'm happy?
You should be.
Because I'm like going down now.
I know, yeah.
Extra nice.
That's like, are you enjoying it? You got money to
I am.
stay
It's
over?
weird, you know, my fiance went over and I've been waiting down. They say, yeah, we're just to cover $5 and all.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful dog here. Good. Right, this is Duck. Bill. Okay, we ready? Are we live? Hey,
We're live.
Hey,
Charles.
Bobby, how's it going? Sorry I missed the net shoots class
Oh,
yesterday.
well, I missed you. I said, where is Tara?
Good to see you.
David, I haven't introduced you. You're in the camera.
I'm sorry.
We are live. It's red. Does that mean it's gone? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hi. It's raining. Just in case you didn't notice. But some of us have fought through the storm and the floods and have made it to the beautiful downtown village office here in the village of the village. Okay, I'm done with all that. Hey, I am so excited today to have the opportunity to interview not only a wonderful agent, but a dear friend of mine. A dear friend of mine. Thank you for my cameraman there. Thank you. Mr. David Paine, come on down. Woo-hoo.
So I have to have the phone.
Oh, no. David, how are you? Okay, let's have a seat. You got your
I'm
coffee?
supposed to sit here.
Yes, that's your
That's my
seat.
seat.
This is my seat.
Here, where's Ed McMahon?
Oh, he is
He's dead.
dead.
Yeah.
Yes. Who is my? Let's make Zach Ed McMahon.
What am I doing?
You're
Ed
Zach
McMahon.
Ed McMahon.
Zach's too young. He doesn't even know who Ed McMahon
Oh, I know Ed
is. He's
McMahon.
too young.
Look, you're
So
about to win the Super League.
here's Bobby.
Here's Bobby.
Okay, now we're gonna do David.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
David. Okay. All right. Hey, David. I have been looking forward to this at least since January because it is my chance to, sock it to you. So you have brought so much fun, really, into my life and to Village, mainly because you're really a fun person. But there's some more to you than just fun and games.
There's a
Clever
dark
words.
side.
Well, I mean, you're very articulate. You're very fashionable. Verbose. Tell us a little bit about where you came from. Okay, where did you come from?
I saw that on the little sheet. She did prep me with some of these questions. Are we talking geographically or just conceptually?
Well, you see, we already are off. And there you have it. Okay, David, let's start with geographically and move into
To conceptually.
conceptually.
Okay.
Yes, let's do
All right.
it.
Well, I grew up in Atlanta.
Atlanta, talk loud because you know
I
this.
grew up in Atlanta.
Okay, is that
Okay.
it?
Well, yeah.
David, that you have never made a sentence that short.
I grew up in Atlanta, and I lived in Georgia most of my life until when I was 26, and I came here. I went to the University of Georgia for both degrees, and I came here straight out of graduate school. I was hired over the telephone by Nadine Everling, who was the executive director of the Metro Historical
What year was
Commission.
that?
1976. I arrived in Nashville and unloaded my worldly possessions in it was on July 4th, our nation's 200th birthday. I had everything I owned in a trailer behind my mother's 1973 Oldsmobile 98, powder blue, vinyl top, electric,
my
everything.
dad had an old
Yeah, it was.
98.
Yeah, it was quite a barge. Yeah. And there are many more tales of that 98. It ended up coming to live with me in Nashville later, and yeah, it was something else.
Was our hair long?
No, our hair had shrunk. Our hair had been out to here when I was in college. I had
Gosh, I
straight
wish I had a
afro.
picture to show
I was
you.
adorable. Yeah. And
You look like something right out of Woodstock.
yeah, well, that was the era. I graduated from high school in 1969, which is the year that Woodstock happened. And little known fact, there were a lot of pop festivals around the country in various cities before Woodstock happened late in the summer, like late August, early September. And in Atlanta in June, early June, there was the first annual Atlanta International Pop Festival. All the people were there, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Pacific Gas and Electric, remember them?
Oh, yeah. That was called the PG&E.
The PG&E. Chicago was there, Chicago Transit Authority at that time. And
everyone in the audience is glazed over.
Yeah, they don't know what the hell
You and I are just
we're just
back
like
in the
reliving
day.
it, taking our clothes off and running around. And all you had to do was sniff
Right,
and get high.
and get
It
high.
was
Yeah,
excellent.
that was
It was
good.
quite a good time.
We do that still, but.
Do you?
Okay.
Well,
Okay, so
so
that is the physical. Let's do the
Yeah.
conceptually, because I find that you are almost something like a throwback, or to me it's really comfortable, and I guess that's why
Mhm.
we and I can talk
we're
a
both
lot.
old.
Huh?
We're both old.
Well, yeah, but there's not even old. You grew up in something that I think was more like a TV show, kind of. Well, you're
Like the Addams Family. You really don't know the extended family, Bobby. It's a real.
I was
freak show.
thinking more like tell us about your mom and dad, because that really has a place in who you
Yeah.
are and how you teach and what's important
Yeah.
to you
Yeah.
and the way you do business.
Well, my mom and dad were good people. They had a lot of good features. They had some really, really dark negative features as well. They were
You don't need to go into
intellectual
the
and
dark.
arty, and they were foodies and traveled when they got where my dad's business got where they could afford it. They traveled everywhere. They enjoyed. Well, my father enjoyed luxury living. My mother was a child with a depression and had a hard time sometimes with that, but she got over it. And it was harmonious in part because we lived by the turd in the punch bowl principle. There's a
So
turd in the
what?
punch bowl, and you just keep smiling and drinking the punch because nobody ever confronts anybody about anything. And so,
Well, I hadn't heard that one, the turd in the punch bowl.
so it was harmonious, and they were good, and they loved me, and they loved my sisters, and they took good care of us, and they gave us good education, and they took us with them to Europe, and they thought that was part of a good education, and they dragged us to the opera and to the ballet and all of that stuff.
So that's a really interesting,
Yeah.
now you're getting sort of a feel
Yes.
of David
And they
his-
talked a lot, and my mother was a grammar Nazi, and
So now you know.
Yeah.
He is a
Right.
product.
Yeah.
I picture like the set of Mad Men in someone's living room, or one of those where
And
the
that's kind of like the
furniture's
house we
low
lived in.
and
My dad was an architect, and so he designed the house, and it was big walls of glass sticking out into the woods, and it has been torn down and replaced with a McMansion, which is kind of tragic because it was cheaply built because they were kind of poor at the time, but it was conceptually pretty swell, and it's gone.
So I
So-
think that is a good understanding. Just by that, you have really a clear picture of not only who David is, but why David is, and where.
There's more, but we can go there if you want.
Okay. I know you've had a few bumps in the road, of course, and we don't need to get into your parents' dark side, but do you care or dare to share how those prepared you for your life today?
I've thought about it. I think that nothing will kill you unless you like go over Niagara Falls in a barrel or something. That'll kill you. But really, nothing that you think is going to kill you is going to kill you if you persist. And I don't know. That sounds really
Cliche.
surfacey. Yeah.
Oh, I liked mine better. than-
Well, okay, you can have that one. Cliche.
Didn't you
Yeah.
think cliche, Zach, was better than surfacey?
Surfacey. I don't like
I think
surfacey,
I
but
won,
okay.
I won on that one.
Okay,
Okay.
glib.
But David, okay, so let's go back a little bit. You've been in real estate how many years?
This is my 5th year.
Okay, and so before that,
Yeah.
you've done a lot from 1976 to 5 years ago.
Yep.
And I imagine it was all honey and cookies and?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Every single minute of it.
Okay.
Well,
What's the good news and the bad news of the
well,
30-some years?
The good news for me is that this is the best life I've ever lived.
Right now?
Right this minute is the best it's ever been.
That's a
And
great thing to say.
yeah, and it's been hard getting to that realization, but you know, I've read The Power of Now 3 times. I recommend it. Every time I read it, I get more. And so all we have is now, so it damn well better be the best. But also coming through difficult things, and I've had sort of 3 real big ones, the last of which was having my business collapse in the recession and losing.
And what business was that?
I had a marketing business. I had an advertising and PR firm, and I had been in that business for 30 years. And 2008, the aftershocks from 2008 just killed my business. And it's a long story. It's kind of a slow motion avalanche. But I lost everything I had. I ended up in a crappy little apartment with my books and my furniture and some fairly significant regionally well-known artwork and a 10-year-old Mercedes-Benz that I had paid cash for, brand new, that cost me about $600 a month on average to keep running. And I was suicidal, and I didn't die.
Thank God.
Yeah.
So, you had married in that time period?
Twice. Married? Oh yeah, the psycho bitch from hell and the good ex.
Yes, and from the psycho bitch from hell,
I got 2 boys.
you got 2 beautiful boys.
And they are really pretty deluxe, both of them.
And one of them's going to have a grandbaby.
Well,
Or he
yeah,
got married. He's engaged, so we're hoping that will produce.
They know do they know how this happens? So they've been practicing. So.
Okay, good. So, and then there is the good ex.
The good ex.
And we
Paine.
love the good ex.
We love the good ex.
The good ex came with you when I met. First,
yeah,
I
we
met
were
the both of
a
you.
set, sort of like a salt and pepper shaker thing.
Has anybody met Kate Moynihan?
Monahan, yeah.
Monahan.
None of you. Well, Evie has. Yeah.
Yeah. Kate and David showed up here one day, interviewing as a team to join Philip.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of like a really strange looking pair.
Well,
But I love Kate.
yeah. Yeah.
So can we say that Kate got you into this mess?
Into real estate? No, I got Kate into real estate. Kate has been buying and selling, both of us have been buying and selling property. I bought my first house when I was 26. And we've been buying and selling property. I did some commercial, I developed a little bit of commercial and bought some, and we lived in I lived in a succession of houses, she lived in a succession of houses. Together we live in a succession of houses. We made money on every deal, and except for the last ones for me. So she owns rental property and really loves to wheel and deal, and is really good with numbers.
And you married her when?
I married, I heard it's 22 years ago. We go out and get loaded on our anniversary.
Not to mention
years.
they live next door to each other.
She's my landlady.
So there's all kinds of stories there.
Yeah.
And they love each other.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
In
a sense, yeah.
Not in the biblical.
Not in the biblical
or
sense.
maybe it is the
Well, no, just let's. We are tight. We will always be tight. The nature of the relationship has changed, but we are a pair of sorts. And she loves my boys, and she and my sisters get along great. So yeah, it's good.
She's family.
Oh yeah, without question.
Right.
She is family.
So what did make you decide to do real estate? If it wasn't, I thought it was Kate that said you've got to do something.
No, well, Kate, yeah, I mean, Kate was among a great many people who were really worried about my mental health, not without reason. And when I closed the business, I started something that I couldn't quite get to investor money. We were close and it didn't happen. And tried another thing that I couldn't get off the ground, and tried to create a whole new consulting idea that almost got off the ground but didn't, and everything kept falling back to the ground. And finally, I just spent like, I don't know, 2 years, 18 months, it's a little fuzzy, just in the fetal position. I was done. And nobody, you know, I'm 60 plus years old and nobody would give me a job. Not in marketing, that's for damn sure. And so my therapist,
Bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts, no kidding. I don't want to go too deep into this, but one of the cool things one of the reasons that life is better now than it ever has been is that when you go through all kinds of really bad shit, you find out who your friends are. And I found out I had a whole lot of friends. I didn't really quite understand how many people there were in the world who would do things for me without being asked. And it was really sort of shocking and good. So one of my friends, of the many, saw me out in public and called me the next day and said, "You look, you know, like death eating a cracker." And so
You really like it. Yeah, you gotta love it. Haven't heard that one. Turd in the
Punch bowl.
Yeah, write these down. These are Davidisms.
And so, you know, she said, "You really look bad." And I said, "Yeah, well, yeah, it's been rough." And she knew, you know, what was going on. I'd known her for 40 years. And so she said, "Are you going to that therapist who, when you were coming out, and he really helped you a lot?" And I said, "No, because I can't afford it."
Because that was a hard time too.
Yeah, it was a hard time. But things infinitely better post-outcome. So I said I couldn't because I couldn't afford it. And she said, I thought that was the case. I'm going to send you a check. And the next afternoon, not 2 days later, not 3 days later, the next afternoon, there was a check in my mailbox for $1,000. And she said, "When you finish that, I will send you some more." So she kept me in therapy for almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So my therapist is the one, and I was kicking around the idea of maybe going to real
And
estate.
you were very connected. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one thing. You are very connected to the art sector of Nashville.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because of what I've done for a living, and because both of the women I married and other stuff, friends I had when I got here. Yeah, and I did the whole, you know, the boards and committee. I was on the Metro Arts Commission for 8 years, and I was on these charity boards, and I was in downtown Rotary, and none of that was worth anything in terms of getting employed.
right, but the connections were
And
really
I will
incredible.
tell you, there's another just a side lesson. If you don't keep those connections fresh, you will lose them. I'm having to sort of rebuild still 5 years down the road. Anyway, so what was I talking about?
The therapist who got
Oh,
you
yeah.
into real estate.
So I had been sort of thinking about real estate. I've known Andy Allen for 43 years. And so I talked to him about, you know, how do assistants work and stuff, and can I show houses, which I thought sounded interesting to me. And he said, basically, no, you just handle paperwork. And I just thought, okay, well, that sucks. And so anyway, we were kicking it around, and my therapist said, "Okay, it's time to shit or get off the pot. Are you going to do this real estate thing or not?" And I was terrified, because I was just terrified every single day about everything. And he said, "You know what would be really good? Kate is really good at real estate. Talk to Kate about this. Maybe you should do it together." So I called Kate the next day, and she called me back in about 15 minutes and said, let's do this. This sounds great. So we went to real estate school together, and we came here together. And then she found out she didn't like it as much as I did, and she does not need the money, and I was desperate for it, so she retired her license after 2 years.
So let's go back to showing up here.
Oh, okay.
So was it hard to transition? I mean, just because you were in a difficult place, but tell us about transitioning and how did we
I've
get...
decided to live my life as a woman. No.
Close. You did decide to wear some incredible socks.
Yeah, but that was a side issue.
So,
Actually, well, there's a story about that too. But
The socks?
Yeah.
well, if we have
Moving
more
on.
time,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
want to hear about the socks, we can do that.
Codicil.
Don't forget the socks. Okay. So, how did we transition?
We did fine.
Well, there were some things we had to do. We met and.
Well, yeah, we met Annette, and we met you, and people had actually Deborah Grimes, the late great Deborah Grimes.
She's not dead.
I know she's not dead, but
Jesus.
she's dead to us.
No, she is
I know.
not dead to
No,
us.
she's not.
Whatever you said, we love Deborah.
I love
Hey,
Deborah Grimes. I want Deborah to come back. She probably never will, but I would love to have her
Okay,
back.
just go on.
So, Deborah is a fabulous human being. I've known her for 30 plus years. She's smart and lovely, and she was one of the many people. Actually, I ran into her out in public, and I had just seen something on Facebook that she'd gone into real estate, and that was not her. She was in management consulting for years and years. It's just how I knew her. And I started asking her questions about this, and I kept asking questions, and I kept asking questions, and she looked at me and she said, David, honey, if I can do this, you can do this. Because she's about the same age. And so we talked, so Kate and I went and, took her coffee and the whole coffee talk thing, and she said that everybody we talked to said, go where they will train you, and Village is the place where they will train you. Keller trains well, and some of the others train well, but Village is the best.
Who
And of
said
course,
that?
Everybody. Well, Andy Allen, but you would expect
Everybody's-
that from him.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. I did that on purpose, Bobby. I waited until Zach came back.
You did.
What was I talking about? Hell, I don't know.
Training. Go where you need your training.
And so Deborah said that she had interviewed at Village, and that they really, really wanted her at Zeitland too. But she said, I just don't want to wear pantyhose every single day of my life, so I'm not going to Zeitland. And I thought, Deborah, honey,
I think that's changed.
You just said what I needed to hear, and so Kate too. And so we came here to sales meeting, and I've known
Because
Mark.
David was not going to wear panties.
No, and I don't ever wear them anymore.
Go ahead, panic. You weren't going to wear panties.
So I had known Mark for a long time, not well, but known, say hello when you pass on the street and occasionally chat. And I kind of knew about the company and knew that there were a lot of good things about Village corporately. And so we came to sales meeting. It was like, oh hell, when are they going to go talk to Zeitland? I mean, I know Shirley too, and she's a lovely person, and her, Manuel, I've been a client of Manuel Zeitland's twice, and, so there's good folks, but I don't want to wear pantyhose, in quotes.
Okay.
So here we are.
Great.
Yeah, that was a long answer. So.
No, it was good. But, so you just joined Village and immediately you had a phenomenal year.
Actually, no.
So, how
Right.
did we kick this
Right, I've been
business off?
totally outclassed by my mentee sitting over there. Does mentee sound like a gum to
Yes.
you? Yeah, I hate that.
Who's your mentee?
Chris.
Boy,
Yeah,
Chris.
he is
What-
tearing up
did
the
you
beat.
know all this?
I did get a nice backstory when we
Yeah,
first got
we gave
together.
each other our backstories. I know a lot about him. He knows
know
more.
more.
Yeah.
You know more
Now
today.
you know more.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you, how did you get this kicked off? What'd you
Slowly.
do? I know, but what did you do? 'Cause
Well,
there's
we
some-
did. I mean, marketing as a previous career, we did a lot of publicizing ourselves. We told everybody we knew. We sent out a whole bunch of email. Kate doesn't do Facebook, but I got on Facebook rather intensively to sort of change the brand from marketer to realtor.
So that's a key thing, is
Yeah.
branding, because
Yeah.
that was something you did, and you did it really, really well.
Yeah.
You immediately chose to create within Village a brand that was you.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about it?
It's about socks and drinking, to some degree. It was about modern. I mean, I designed, and one of the things that has served me well is that I sort of backed into the advertising and PR business through the door of graphic design, because I had been doing all the graphic design at the Metro Historical Commission when I was there. And so I designed a little brand box for us that I have now changed to David Paine Realtor, but it was Kate David Homes. And we intentionally went after mid-century modern business. That has not been a roaring success. This branding has been extremely successful. I just haven't had that many deals.
Of mid-century.
Of mid-century deals. cocktails.
But the
Yeah.
branding.
The
is
branding,
who
and
you
people call me
are,
all the time.
because
Yeah,
that
what you
was
got?
your background.
Yep, absolutely. And then we did some other stuff. We decided that we were going to be fun to work with. I'm more fun than Kate, but Kate can be fun when you loosen her up. Get a couple of stiff belts and she turns into, a pretty jolly person. But we took, back when we were doing this together, we'd take people out showing. Kate always baked cookies. I don't bake, so that was something that she did. We always had cookies in the car. And we did the whole cocktail thing. And I got on Instagram again. Kate doesn't do
How did
social
you
media.
get into being such an aficionado?
I just like
Of
to drink.
cocktails.
Aficionado. I've always
I
liked
thought
to
that
drink.
was a good word.
Yeah, aficionado is a good word.
Not like great,
Yeah.
just aficionado.
Aficionado, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I knew I had to polish my vocabulary for today.
Well, so, what was the question?
How did you get to be the aficionado of drinking
I
or
just got a
cocktail?
lot of experience. I mean,
Well,
I've been drinking since I was in high school.
But I know, but it's a creating thing. My husband met David, and they have a thing. And my husband now prepares drinks. We had to get all kinds of equipment. You should see our bar because of David. And David and John, the drinking scene is something at our house.
Well, it's really, John and I are both too old to do much drinking, so it's lights out pretty early. But the way you describe it, people are swinging from the chandelier, and that is not what
There
it
has
is.
been a couple nights.
Okay, well, I wasn't
Those
there.
stay up lates will really do it
No,
to you.
stay up lates will put you to bed early, in my experience.
Now, John. Okay, so bottom line is
Same place,
David
great
creates
cocktail.
cocktails.
And I use cocktail recipes that other people create, but I do, yeah.
And so you are actually not only known as this modder, but every newsletter, every 30-day message has a cocktail of the month. And John is faithful. He wanted David's newsletter because John makes the cocktail of the month.
Yeah.
And if it's a good one, it becomes the cocktail of the family.
Yeah.
So.
And they're pretty good, most of them.
And you get a lot of response from that. I mean, these are the kind of things that you can't necessarily directly tie to a sale or a business, but you become known, and it is that thing that stays in someone's mind. So you have managed to do a great job of niching into a market.
Yeah, and I think it's beginning to pay off. I mean, I think it's beginning to pay off.
So you had a fairly good year, though, the first year.
It was okay.
I mean, you were doing fine.
Yeah, we were splitting commissions, which meant I was still just in
So then
dire
you dumped
poverty,
Kate.
Well, Kate dumped. She was self-dumping, so it was
Okay,
fine.
and so then you.
We didn't have a big fight or anything. She
No,
just
I-
said, I just think I'm
I
gonna retire
hate
my
this
life.
business.
Yeah, basically that's what she said.
Right, and so
okay.
you stayed, and
Yeah.
then you had a swimming,
Yeah, I had a good year in 17, real good year.
and
And then I
then
had just totally shitty year last year.
you did,
It was
and
just
that was
dreadful.
So what do you think about that now that this year?
Yeah.
I mean, you thought last year that was it. It was going to stay that way.
Well, it felt like it, yeah.
So
yeah.
tell us about the last year and this year, and why do you think there's such a difference? What happened?
Well, some of it is just dumb luck, and you told me that.
I didn't say that. I
Well,
never
no,
said
but
that.
you said some, you've been doing this since you were 22, right?
Doing what?
Real estate.
Oh, me, yes.
Interviewing people on TV
Right.
since you were 22.
Right. Okay.
That, boy, does that set me off on a rabbit hole. We'll talk about that later.
No.
You just said that sometimes you just have a bad year, period. There's just not any, because one of the things in terms of my life being better than it has ever been is embracing the idea that we are not really in control. There are things that we can influence, there are some things we can control, but a whole lot of what goes on is due to the laws of physics, the fact that the world is what it is, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And so, accept, and do what you can. And radical acceptance is a concept in The Power of Now, and it has to do with not fighting what is. Because what is, then do what you can do, but you can't fight the realities of life. And so accepting the fact that sometimes you just have a bad year
Is that
been
detached
part of
from
it.
the outcome?
detaching from the outcome. This is a Bobby Noreen principle, and you work your tail off. And it was not that I wasn't working last
No,
year.
you were working.
God Almighty, I was
It
just.
was a tough one for me because
Yeah.
you were doing everything.
Yeah.
He faithfully was doing the things that he was supposed to do. He
Yeah.
never stopped your 30-day
No.
message, never stopped, went to Ninja,
Went to Ninja.
did his thank you cards.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a couple things that he wasn't doing. that
Like
I-
systems.
Well, he was not he wasn't cold calling.
No, well, and
Or even
honey,
calling
that ain't,
his
that
fear.
ain't ever happened.
He wouldn't call his fear of
I don't
influence.
like to talk on the telephone.
So we had to adjust for his
Yeah, my peccadillos. There's a good one.
peccadillos. Yeah, we adjusted for his peccadillo. And so you made it through the year. You didn't die.
Didn't die?
It was
didn't
rough.
die again. Didn't die.
Mhm. It was rough though.
Yeah, it was really, yeah, it was hard.
So
And-
how did you manage to stay on track even though, I mean, there was a time I think you lost 4 deals or 3 at once.
I spent a lot of time with an investor, and I wrote 6 offers for him worth over $2 million, and we closed on one of them at 3 1/4. And I had spent 4 months of my life working with this clown. And he walked away on 2 inspections. We had a buyer who walked away on us. We had met her terms. I mean, the seller, and we had met her terms. And 5 minutes to deadline time, I'm standing in the line at Costco, for God's sake, and I get this text saying, "We will not be accepting your offer." And she never spoke to me again. She wouldn't answer the phone. She wouldn't answer an email. So we have no idea why she walked away. It was a $400,000 teardown in Green Hills. It killed me. Anyway, so with the thing that Andy Allen said, sitting in one of these 2 chairs, is you just show up, and there's really no choice unless you want to go get under the bed in the fetal position, and those are your 2 choices. You can go suck your thumb, or you can show up, and so I decided to show up.
You did,
Yeah.
and I was really proud of you.
Yeah. And this year, things are
When
just.
did it turn
No.
around? And at what point did you start to see some light at the end of the tunnel?
This year.
January?
Yeah. Well, there were a couple of things last year. There were a whole bunch of things that I had no influence over that happened that hurt. Like I had a couple who I signed them to a buyer rep, and we're just starting to looking, and I'm sending them listings, and they call and say, "Well, we can't buy a house because the husband didn't get the bonus he'd been promised at work," and it was going to be a $50,000 bonus, and they reneged on it. So there was a $650,000 deal I didn't get, and then there was a listing.
Which was, again, one of those out of your control situations.
I mean, not even control, it's just like influence. I mean, there was nothing I could do about that. I had a listing agreement in the Meridian, about a $500,000 condo, and the seller was and is a lunatic, as many sellers are. But he was about to get married for the second time, and he'd been living the bachelor life. I mean, like his bicycle was in the living room, and his tidy whities were in the corner, and there was a broken drawer, and he and his son had painted the place, and it just looked like hell. And there were weird Jesus pictures on the wall, and it was just hideous. So
as opposed to nice Jesus pictures.
These were weird Jesus. He's an Episcopalian, Bobby, but he's a weird.
David and I are both
Yeah.
Episcopalian, so
we're
so
not
are
weird,
you,
but he
so
was weird.
We're into
Yeah.
good Jesus pictures.
Yeah.
So-
My Jesus pictures
These
are really.
weird
Well,
Jesus.
you'll come over.
This
You'll
has got
like,
nothing to do with
you'll like my
Jesus.
Jesus pictures. They're great. So anyway, it was unshowable.
Right.
And he decided he wasn't going to shack up with the new bride until they were actually married. I think there were weekend visits, but he wasn't going to move. And so I couldn't show it. I couldn't put it on MLS because it just would have been a disaster.
Right.
So during the time while we were waiting for them to get married, his son moves back to town. And he says, "I'm just going to lease it to my son." So that's a $500,000 deal I didn't get. Then I'm working with my friends. It's a married couple who are both attorneys, and the husband is also a doctor. Their names shall go unrecorded here, although the compliance ladies know who y'all can look this one up if you want. They are absolutely adorable, but they are bonkers. on
But we
detail.
love them.
Oh, I do. I love them. They are my friends.
Right.
No, they're just swell people. But I've never
This is
seen.
not to go in any.
I've never seen anybody drill down into detail any deeper than these two. They read when you download the app, and it's the terms and the conditions, and you say yes or no. Anybody, show of hands. Has anybody read all that crap? These two do every time. So it has been a process getting them in a new house because oh my God, they're worried about all kinds of stuff that never even occurs to us. The possibility that they are too close to the 500-year floodplain, like 100 yards. We didn't write an offer on one place because it was 100 yards from the 500-year floodplain, and they just could not take the risk. I'm going to be dead the next time we have a flood. I hope we'll all be dead the next time we have a flood.
Today they were talking about this.
So I signed them in June, and I worked with them faithfully, patiently, with a good attitude.
And you were going to fire them.
I was going to fire them. Well, then they walked on one inspection. Oh my God. Yeah, I was about to fire them. Bobby talked me out of firing them. And so we kept working and kept working. They took a break at Christmas time. And then they got back into it in January, and we closed them in March, and they had gone $200,000 over their original ceiling.
So that was a great sale.
So that was something that didn't happen in 18, but happened in 19, and that was my first closing this year. It was 773, which
gave
was
you
a real
very
boost.
nice, yes.
So, and the couple who dropped out because he didn't get the bonus came back $100,000 richer, and we're going to close with them on next Monday.
So one of the questions is you also have experienced it down here. How do you keep persistent when things aren't going perfectly? And that's a really important key. There's one thing about cutting your losses and recognizing you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them.
Yes.
And that's a trick. You know, that's my favorite song in the whole world. It's gone on my tombstone and in my repertoire.
My tombstone is going to say, never spent the night in jail.
Okay, good.
So far, so good.
Good. So, anyway, how do you, and this is for everybody, because this is really something in life, no matter what it is, how do you know when to hang in there and when to cut your losses and run? How do you? It's the essence of life. So how do you, what trick do you do so that you can discern between those two and then stay persistent even when it's looking pretty glum? Because I think that's what it is for all of us in real estate, in life, but especially in these times when we wake up every morning unemployed and have to forge ahead.
I wish there was some trick that I could tell you that I have, and I don't have one. I'm sort of the point. I'm 67 years old. This is my last job. There's not another job waiting for me. I don't have a plan B. And really refusing to have a plan B is maybe a good way to do it. Just refuse. I'm not going to have a plan B. I'm going to make this one work. That may be sort of it. I don't know.
What do you do in the morning to get yourself going?
I go to the Y.
Yeah, and then you do some meditation.
Well, this is a ninja discipline. It's the ninja discipline that I have been completely 100% faithful to every single day since the first ninja. And that is, I get up and I open up my computer and I open up my Word file and I type in at least 3 things that I'm grateful for every morning. I do it when I'm on vacation. I do it when I'm hungover. I don't get hungover all that much anymore. I do it when I feel great about stuff. I do it when I feel lousy about stuff. I do it every single morning before I go to the Y.
And that's so key.
It is key.
Even before,
it's absolutely key.
But even before that, before Ninja, you still did some things. And your meditation, we do communicate every morning almost.
We do. Bobby got me when I was really, actually this was not last year, this was when, in 15, my first year in business, we had a closing on December 28th, and we did not have another closing until May 13th. Those dates are sort of burned into my memory. And I'm just flat broke paying for that damn Mercedes-Benz every other time I turn around. There's another $600 at the repair shop, and living in this crappy apartment with bad air conditioning, and splitting commissions with the good ex. And so it was tight and scary, and I kept thinking I'm going to slide back down. This is all going to collapse. And so Bobby buttonholed me in the hall because apparently I was looking like death eating a cracker again, and said, I want you to come and talk to me. So I did, and we started talking about Richard Rohr. And Richard Rohr is I don't know whether y'all know about.
And it's not so much about him, though.
Well, but he's the
He was the catalyst. But what happened is, it's this connection. I told David that he needed to read this with me.
Mm-hmm.
We both read it every morning, and then we were going to comment to each other. And what that was, and I say this to you, if you are in that, is to have somebody that is like a lifeline, sort of. It doesn't have to be big, just knowing that you're accountable to somebody every morning to show up and do something.
Yeah.
And
That's
that was very
yeah.
important, and that's why Village is so collaborative, and we are so culture-wise about us not being isolated in our business. I think being isolated in business is really the most scariest, loneliest, and possibly when things aren't going well, the first time when people bail because they don't have somebody else saying, you can do this, it's okay, I'm here, I'm there. So I love our mentee-mentor program because I think that keeps that same kind of connection daily. It's sometimes when you're really, really in a bad shape, you need that daily connection. Just knowing somebody else is
out there.
is doing what you're doing and is thinking of you, even if it's just for a minute.
Yeah, and what Richard Rohr writes is also very good.
Very good.
But that's how I get to the why. I mean, I've been a regular at the Downtown Y for 35-ish years, which is why I look no worse than I do now. In recent years, it would have been much easier to just not go anymore. But I've got people who will give me the business if I don't show up, and so I show up because they're expecting me, and they show up because I'm expecting them. It's the same thing with Bobby making me read this stuff. It's accountability partner, and so that was going on really through thick and thin.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to everything is it's not here's business, here's life. You know, this is life. We are all in this together, and we're here business, but we're also here experiencing life, and I don't think they're two separate things.
No.
And I think this connection of each other, knowing I know you, I know what you're going through, or I can relate, is really powerful, and I think that's what gives Village a really strong culture. So David, I have appreciated being a part of watching you and experiencing with you your success. And how do you now, you told me something really funny, how do you manage to keep balance in your life now that your business is really booming? Or so.
I don't.
So, what did you say to me this morning?
I said that maybe I needed to talk to you about Provo because it's I'm not screwing anything up. In 17, I had 2 different months when I had 4 closings in a month. And the first time that happened, I was terrified that I was going to let something slip or it was all going to fall apart. And so I parked them all with Village Assists. And they do fine. It was great. But then I realized, I can do this. So the next time I had 4 closings a month, I did them all. And I've saved myself $1,000, which, according to Leo, who never uses Village Assist, and I said, well, I'm doing 4. And he said, that's a lot of cocktails. So Leo's right. That's a lot of cocktails. So I do it myself, but I'm tired a lot. I mean,
so
really
we're going to have a
tired.
meeting about time blocking again.
Oh, Jesus.
And balance.
Yeah, balance. Well, and I do work on that. These last couple of weeks have been really hard to do anything but work. But, yeah. Okay,
Gotta
we're
work
gonna.
on that.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that. Okay.
Because sometimes you got to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you've had some hard lessons,
Yeah.
you've learned through some difficult transaction, is there anything in this business that you would do differently than you did?
In this business? Okay,
Well,
I
I
thought
mean,
when
in
I saw
this-
that question, I thought, okay, well, I think I would have not married number one. I think it would have.
No, I mean, we all know what we wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
I'm talking about just in the 5 years you've been in real estate. Is there anything you would do differently?
Do differently. That's a hard one to answer, and I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not a big regretter. I've done a lot of regrettable stuff. Lot of regrettable stuff. But then, you know, it's okay, that's done. Let's move on. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You just keep going.
I've heard that.
Yeah, have you heard that?
That's an old one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
an
that's
oldie,
not
but
good.
yeah,
It's not as good as the
that's
turd in the
no,
bush.
well, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
And
so.
I didn't make any of these up. This all came from my family, probably South Georgia.
So,
Lunatics down
what
there.
advice would you
Yeah.
offer someone new who's getting into this
Yeah.
business or newer? What advice do you have for them?
Well,
What are you telling Mr.
well, I mean, I
Garcia?
don't need to tell him anything. He just calls and says, how do I fill out this blank? I mean, he's got it going on. So, I think we have talked some about this, and one of the things that he's not doing yet is a 30-day message and a brand, developing a brand. Well, he's new. Give him a minute. For God's sake, he's got all these things going on. He's got to work the deals. When everything stops, he can start a newsletter.
Oh, now there is a little theory about that.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to talk about that
No.
theory. Okay.
Okay.
Well, all right. So I think working to define yourself as different from everybody else is really key. And I'm also going to tell you it's extremely hard to brand yourself, as most people who do not have ego issues, like a certain orange person I could mention. We are not.
We're all now,
modest
we've
about
lost you, and we're all
ourselves.
trying to think, what
Who's
orange person?
Who's orange?
Oh,
Work
I'm
it
sorry.
out. Anyway, yeah. What was I talking about?
I don't know. I got
Okay.
hung up on the
It's
orange.
branding. It is branding yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That
And
was it.
it is so. You know, I was in the marketing business for a long time, and I worked with all sorts of clients, big national companies and local outfits. We branded, for instance, Provence Bakery. We branded and opened Provence when they opened. Designed, I didn't, but one of my designers designed that logo, and we designed the tabletops, and we did all the PR to get them open, and blah blah blah. Hard work, but we knew what we were doing. Branding yourself
It's hard.
is extremely difficult because you cannot really see yourself. I mean, there's no perspective. So I will tell you that it's taken me 5 years to get as clear as I am now about who I am and why you should work with me. So it's not something that happens immediately, but you also can't just like not do it.
Right. Really important.
Yeah.
Dig and dig it.
Yeah. And so, and has sort of been evolving. Who I think that I am as a realtor has kind of been evolving.
Actually, it's just evolving into more of a concrete, but it's really the same.
Well, it's the same me, but getting.
But I mean, you really nailed it in the beginning. Now you've just fleshed it out.
Yeah,
Made
yeah.
it.
And I have also, another thing is consistency, persistent and consistent, and that's something that, you know, when we were in the design assign era here at Village, was just making me absolutely
Design
nuts.
assign. Oh, good.
And so now, you know, the new boys have sort of made us be consistent,
The
and
new
I'm
boys,
proud
yes,
of that.
they've done a great job.
Yeah, consistent. And so when when Kate retired her license, I redesigned the little brand box, but I kept it consistent. It's a black square that butts right up next to the Village Square, and it's just, you know, and so that there's a consistent approach since, I don't know, 2015. I have been Cocktail Modernist on Instagram, and I have done that consistently.
And you've become known for that.
Yeah,
You know.
cocktails and modern stuff on Instagram only. And I do my listing mystery pics on Facebook, and it's consistent.
And it was
People
really
expect
funny
those.
because how ingrained this cocktail thing is. When David did his talk, you all were there at the V-Talk on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Lloyd just shows up.
Lloyd showed up with gin and tonics at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Fabulous. But
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't have done that had it not been that everybody knows that that goes with David, cocktails with David.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really
Yeah.
defining brand.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of the Loy brand too, because
And
he is
I
a
know, but it was-
retired bartender. So,
Yeah, but
and
it
I
was
was
just-
a very good customer there for a while. So
So it was
yeah.
a perfect.
Yeah. It was
So
a good
I
deal.
have one last question
Okay.
as we wrap up.
As we
And I
wrap up.
ask everyone this
Yeah.
question. Why are you still, or why are you?
Why are you still?
No, I didn't mean it. Why are you? I didn't
Why are
mean
you
it.
still here? Yeah.
No. Why do you stay
At
at
Village.
Village?
It's a lot of trouble to change your email.
Yeah. Well, there we go. You've heard it here.
You heard it here first. I stay here because of some of the stuff you're talking about. I mean, I feel comfortable here. I feel like we are all independent contractors and we're all hustling for business. And in that sense, we are competitive with one another. However, the stories that I hear about other brokerages, I will not mention any by name.
Please don't.
No, I know. There was a there was a question on here about what tough lessons have you learned with, and
I did-
one
I
is to
thought
keep
we-
your trap shut when we are in danger of
Fair housing.
contravening the code of ethics. One of which is don't trash your competitors. So, but I hear about, people having, hair pulling, chin kicking fights in the hallway over who sold more or who's listing, who gets this listing, and yada yada. We don't act like that here. I've always, and one of the things when I got here that, I had run my own company for a long time, and it can get really lonely when people are looking to you for every decision and every paycheck, every month. Everybody, they want to get paid. It's just like, ew, really, again? You want another paycheck, you little turd. Anyway, so getting here, and it's almost like I feel like I joined a team. I know it's not exactly a team, but it feels like there is a community here that is really, really good. It's helpful, and you'll learn stuff. One of the reasons that I hang out here, I have a great little office at the house, and I have all my stuff set up, and it's really good, and it's sort of, I can turn my chair and get to my file cabinet, and it's all good. But I come in here because I learn from other people. I've learned a lot from other people, and now people are asking me questions as if I knew what I was doing, and apparently I do, and that's really good. Yeah. So it is a community that feels really good. It's really, and I don't know, you didn't ask me this, but I will say this is the best job I've ever had in my entire life. I wish if there were this, and there are some. I'm not like I said, I'm not a big regretter. But if there's a regret, it's like, why didn't I do this 30 years ago? Instead of schlepping around doing that marketing stuff and going to Rotary in a $1,000, well, not a $1,000 suit then, $750 suit that I don't have anymore. It's out of style, and I gave it away.
It'll come back.
No, it's gone. No, the suit will not come back. I gave it away. That suit's gone, honey. There were this many of them. Had a dark blue pinstripe. Oh my God, it was so good.
I hope that. Are you done? Sorry, I was going to
No.
open it up to a few questions if there
just
were
a few
any.
questions. All the 6 people
Well,
were here.
well, no, there's 100,000 out there in TV land that are. So, are there any questions? Any comments? I enjoyed this so much. I always do. I enjoy being with you always. Any questions, comments?
Do you have systems in place, and I would love to come to a meeting about time blocking. So I think it's very key. But do you have any type of time blocking that you do?
Okay, the question is, for those of you out there, is Jan has asked David if there is a way that he consistently does time blocking.
No.
But you
I
would
can
like
elaborate on that. Yeah.
I need to do that.
I do too. I need to do better. I am inching toward doing better on that. It's year 5, we inch forward. One of the things that has helped is the ninja discipline of the gratitude in the morning and writing an affirmation and doing some things in the morning which sort of get me rolling in the right direction. You're supposed to check your hot and warm list. I have a real hard time keeping those straight in my mind about who's hot and who's warm and why are they there. conceptually it's a little difficult. I do not block time and say, okay, Tuesday morning I'm going to communicate with these people, Wednesday morning. No, I do not do that. It's not that I shouldn't or I couldn't do better. It's just that I am not a very systematic person, and you know, I've been this far down the road, and it's not like I'm gonna like change into somebody else, like have a stroke in the night and wake up a different person. It's just really not gonna happen. So I do the best I can.
Any other questions?
I write everything down though, because if you don't write it down, it is gone.
Everybody has a system of some kind. And when we get busy, we always realize it could be better, you know. And when you get busy, then you start pushing stuff aside. So it's a matter of looking at priorities.
I do plan my week. I don't plan my days. I mean, I write, and this is kind of weird. I have learned that I can't do legal pads because I lose the pages. And so I have spiral notebook. And on Sunday, usually, sometimes Monday morning, usually Sunday afternoon, I write down the whole week. And I write down the appointments that I have, and I leave some space to add stuff, and then usually at the top, there's something that needs to happen some point during the week, like I need to get my newsletter written or something like that.
You know, they do have week at a glance spiral.
Yeah, but that makes me, blanks make me nervous.
Oh,
I can't, because I always put the right answer in the wrong blank or the wrong answer. It just makes me crazy. I do not use a Ninja planner because all these little blanks, and I just can't, I sweat and get hives. So I write it in pencil and I mark it off in blue ink.
Ah, now there's a system.
So there's a
like
system.
That
Sounds a lot like that blocking.
Yeah.
And really,
it's pencil blue ink blocking. Yeah.
and everybody needs to have, and time blocking isn't the same. It's just that everybody has to have some way of measuring what they should do, when they should, and that they have some way of saying, I did this. I used to scratch. I loved to put a scratch through. And I loved my scratches because it showed accomplishment. And you like your blue chip.
What's his name? He moved to Jacksonville. Steve Shane. Steve, an agent here for those of you who don't remember Steve, because you never met him, so how do you remember him? He's been gone for a couple of years. Great guy, young. He's a baby. He's what, like under
40.
50? Yeah. He read somewhere, we were talking about this in book group, he read somewhere that crossing something off a list releases a tiny bit of chemical in your brain that's the same thing that's released when you achieve orgasm. So, okay,
no wonder I love those scratch
off the list. Woo, let's put some extra stuff on the list
so we can have more
cross
scratches.
that off. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that is a great closing sentence.
Yeah.
I loved it, David. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I do. And
and you really want to bring it to close before I say something else.
I think, the scratchies and the orgasm about climax this.
We're all over 21. You can't be here unless you have a high school diploma, Bobby. You've said this 1,000,000 times yourself.
Put the age restriction on you.